Hey everyone, and welcome to a follow-up on today's hearing in the KarenRead case. That ended strange. Let's just be honest. Everyone is out here guessing what the heck is going on. What made Bev pull the plug on today's hearing? All of us are speculating. All of us are scrambling through all the old evidence to try and figure out what is it Mr. Hanky Panky is implying. And thank you, Marissa, Jamie, and Jemima for sending me links, clips, and other stuff. What I can tell is right now, as I see all of this, Hank might have lied to the judge. And the judge might have eaten it hook, line, and sinker. Why? Because I clearly believe after watching this that he is misrepresenting at least most of what led to today's dismissal. Let's try and look why I believe so.
I wasn't at the last trial, but I've read the transcripts. And on June
He wasn't at the last trial. He read the transcripts. He will later claim he didn't do that.
10, 2024, you asked the defense about ARCCA, and it was represented these experts were hired by the federal government, and they provided a report to us pursuant to a TUI request. It was specifically outlined and ruled that they could not prep with us for trial. Could not prep with us for trial. And so Your Honor said, so I am to believe that the defense is calling 3 witnesses that you've never spoken to and putting them on the stand here. And the answer, that's essentially it. We've spoken to them only for purposes of coordinating their testimony and their background. We've not been able to interview them regarding their findings, which are outlined in detail in the reports that both sides have. Your Honor said, see, I don't see that as being the report. I don't see that as being detailed. It leaves a lot of questions as the gatekeeper as to what they can testify, and you have not complied with your Rule 14 obligations. And the defense says, we can't, Your Honor. And Your Honor said, so you can't, but you haven't. So I'm left with that you have not complied.
So where in the transcript is this?
On page 20.
And let's just say that was a bullshit motion back then as well. They weren't allowed to talk to the ARCCA guys. And Bev claimed they didn't want to do it. They weren't allowed to, which we will also hear.
2812 and 2813 of June 10, 2024. Now, having some familiarity with the federal government, it seemed to me, based on my limited experience, there was much more to the story. So I called the federal government, and I tried to encourage them to provide full discovery so that the experts could testify. I was resigned to a TUI letter. I've been on that road many times. It's a dark road that never sees the light of day. So I filed a TUI letter, comprehensive TUI letter. And it was delayed. And over a long period of time with requests and deadlines, I finally received a response that was unresponsive. And it was striking that it wasn't noted as unresponsive, just when I read the materials, and Attorney McLaughlin actually identified them. They didn't respond to our requests, so Attorney McLaughlin wrote back. And then we got new materials, just some. But these materials are the very reason why the defense should not be able to call witnesses without giving full discovery.
So he tried to get the full discovery from the government. The government didn't comply. When McLaughlin read the documents, which documents? We don't know. She wrote them back, and the government, notice the government, sent them back stuff, and that is why ARCCA shouldn't be allowed to testify. He will then go on and represent communications between the defense and the ARCCA guys. Remember, he clearly said, this is what they sent us after McLaughlin read the papers and wrote the government. So the government gave them those hearings. He goes through all of it. There was some initial contact around March 22, where there's an email with Dr. Wolf talking about sending over your engagement brief and the retainer fee. There comes a reply from Dr. Wolf saying, according to the US AG, we can't talk no more, and everything stops. But he also says this.
Would be fair to say because you had a lot of nighttime visibility work, your cases frequently involve pedestrians. Yes, unfortunately, there is a direct correlation between the time of day and pedestrian fatalities. Statistically speaking, most pedestrian fatalities occur during the evening and night hours. That would have been nice to have. So
it'd be nice to know that they are specialized in pedestrian strikes. All of this is to imply this is something that the defense and ARCCA are talking about, and then
my specialty in the area of lighting and human factors results in a lot of my cases involving pedestrians. Pretty important stuff in this case. And then he comments, if you don't want me to say this, that's fine. That's fine. Shh. Don't tell them.
Remember when Mr. Brennan said 2 minutes ago, I read the transcript. I wasn't at the case, but I read all the transcripts. It would be nice to know that the ARCCA guys specialized in pedestrian strikes.
What about human factors? What does that discipline entail? What is human factors?
Well, to give you an example of that, so I do a lot of nighttime visibility work where, for instance, let's say a pedestrian's coming out onto the roadway at night. Maybe it's not a lit roadway and you're relying on your vehicle headlights to illuminate that pedestrian. So it's determining when would a driver recognize that individual on the roadway based upon the headlights, if there is any artificial lighting, their clothing. And then we look at how do drivers respond based upon that scenario that they're presented with. So we know that response times are different depending on the hazard that's presented to them. So if it's a pedestrian coming to the roadway, it's a vehicle stopping in front of you. So that's the application of human factors.
Shh. Don't tell them. This is from the voir dire on June 18. When Bev ordered a voir dire of the ARCCA guys, they specifically said, what? Shh, don't tell them. That would be nice to know. Well, Brennan, do you know what would be really nice and what hopefully will come back and bite your little buttocks? If you knew what the hell happened during the first trial. You are claiming that they withhold evidence and they colluded, ARCCA and the defense, to withhold evidence about pedestrian strikes, human factors, especially at nighttime. It happened at voir dire. Even if he wrote, if you want to keep it out, just tell me. He asked specifically if that was an expertise of his. Why, oh why, do you always lie? I have no respect for Hank Brennan. I know he is a defense lawyer. They sometimes are a little more creepy than the state, but the state isn't much better. But did Bev send everyone home because he didn't know what happened during the first trial?
That's getting duped. So, I didn't know any of this, but I've tried a few cases. I've been around the federal court a little bit. I know how it works. Sometimes parties pick sides.
Sometimes parties pick sides. He said it in open court, what you just claimed he didn't say.
It creates an imbalance and unfairness, and then it allows the ability to one side to use ghosts. They create illusions and shields and say something's there and something's happening, a federal investigation and this person, and then this happens. I don't care if the ARCCA witnesses testify at trial. I don't care about their opinions, but I care that it's unfair, imbalanced, and hidden. And the Commonwealth, like the defense, is entitled to discovery. So if they can produce the discovery, I'd welcome ARCCA.
All right, I'm going to take a recess before the recess.
This is when Bev loses her mind, runs to the back, stays there for another 30 minutes before she comes back with a ruling that left us all flabbergasted, to say at least. Because did she just lose her mind over being misrepresented, what was in the communication, and who gave the state the communication? The only thing you could say, because he claimed they had outlined and they had prepared the ARCCA witnesses. Yes, there could be a potential discovery thing. But he claims they were lying, don't say it, about the pedestrian. It was clearly stated in open court. So they didn't hide anything from you. I don't know how the heck she lost her mind over this. But let's see how Bev reacted when she's been out for roughly half an hour.
The Commonwealth just provided the court with information that causes me grave concern.
This information has almost all of it been available. Yes, the defense talked to ARCCA. ARCCA got shut. The defense got shut down, wasn't allowed to talk to them. Then they talked about the CV and the outline of the testimony. Could that be a violation of discovery? I can't see how it can be when the pedestrian wasn't withheld from them. But again, I'm not a lawyer, but it was brought up during voir dire. So nothing was withheld from either Bev or the state.
The implications of that information may have profound effects on this defense and defense counsel. So for that reason, I'm going to suspend today so that when we meet again to address these issues, all affected will be appropriately prepared.
It could be nice if she had said what they need to prepare for. But she doesn't, because she got in her I'm angry Bev. And let's just say I don't think she understood what went on.
So I'll see you a week from today at 11 o'clock in the morning. You can tell me now if that is impossible for you. And where the federal authorities have been, and where...
And yes, and this is why I think she might have been duped. Talk about dupe, as Hank just did. I think she might have been duped by Hank.
Mr. Brennan, where the federal authorities have been kind enough in the past to allow me to have copies of everything, would you be kind enough to call over there or check with whomever you were dealing with to see if I can in fact get a copy of everything that you just read?
I can, and there's a brief chronology I think Your Honor should be aware of.
So Bev clearly believed Hank when he said this material was sent over to me by the government. But is that true, Hanky Panky?
All right, so the information that was provided to you, not from the federal government, I'd like a copy of before you leave the courthouse today.
Yes, Your Honor.
All right.
So she now found out, oh, it wasn't provided to you by the government. It was turned over by the defense. So what were they actually hiding? The pedestrian nighttime speciality that he believed they hid from them was brought up doing voir dire. Shh, don't tell them about it. They did tell you about it. The only thing you could say, well, we outlined the testimony a bit. If Bev is gonna kick someone off the defense team or try and put on sanctions for not mentioning they had a conversation about their education, their work, then Hank should be held in contempt because he clearly, in my opinion, misled the court by lying about where he got his information from. When she said, can you contact the people at the government who turned over the papers? He goes into, well, let me give you a brief timeline. He should have said, sorry, Your Honor, I must have misspoken. I got this from the defense. I didn't obtain this from the government. But he didn't. He let her believe, and then in the end, well, I got it from the defense. This was turned over by the defense. No one tried to pull the wool over your eyes. And the things you lied about they weren't testifying about. It happened at the voir dire. This case is just another example of Hanky Panky being an absolute douche canoe. I don't know if he doesn't know what happened at case one, if he doesn't hear from his co-counsel, or if he just doesn't care and he's just that slimy, because we got sent home today on the basis of squat all. Squat all. There's no smoking gun there. When they tried to talk to the ARCCA guys, they were told, you can't do that, there's an ongoing investigation. Then they talked to them about, okay, we're going to testify, we need your CV, this is the outline of what we're going to ask you. Which, I'm not a lawyer, I don't know, maybe they should have turned that over to the state, I'm not sure. And then he claims that because Wolf said, well, this is my specialty, but if you don't want to bring it up, we don't have to. And he does the shh. Don't talk about it. They did talk about it, you idiot. I hate this case. Lally was an idiot, but I think he was just stupid. This guy, I think he's just evil.